Before the COVID-19 pandemic, this university in New Delhi was at the heart of nationwide protests against the Indian government. But on the very day that the lockdown was announced, authorities destroyed all signs of dissent.
This used to be a very vibrant, very beautiful, colorful place. Delhi police has used this coronavirus lockdown to curb the dissent on, eradicate all the murals, all the graffitis that were like we have painted or students have painted. Government used this pandemic to, crush the dissent, crack down the dissent. And all the people who are active in protesting, mobilizing, they all are being framed as, rioters.
Earlier this year, India was divided by nationwide protests condemning a law deemed discriminatory against Muslims. The tension led to violent inter-religious clashes last February. No serious charges were filed against the Hindu right wing and police, despite a number of videos clearly demonstrating their involvement. The investigation carried out by authorities concluded that the riots were a conspiracy to destabilize the government. Law enforcement officials have since arrested dozens of dissenting voices, including students, under a draconian anti-terrorism law. Months later, Samir took the risk to speak to us outside his university.
We just want to do an interview here. More discussion, interview, 5 minutes.
So you can see the level of surveillance. If you are a student, even if you are standing outside the campus, a guard will come and ask you, like, do you have an I card? What are you doing here? You are not supposed to be here. Personally, I feel threatened to come here. I feel like I'm afraid. I fear for my security. Who dare to speak against this Hindu Nazi regime are being threatened, intimidated, that you might be put in jail. Message is loud and clear.
The Unlawful Activities Prevention Act was introduced in the early 1960s and has since been amended several times. This anti-terror law is often used by the Indian police to target critics of the state by labeling them terrorists. The Modi government amended it last year to allow the state to arrest individuals and detain them for up to 6 months without a trial or evidence. Activist Ravi Nair believes this law is being used to stifle dissent.
Because the clauses of the act are so vaguely defined, anything can be construed as a terrorist act, including mere expression of opinion. There is an attempt to take out people who dissent in any way, to tell the rest of the country that if you dissent, then you must pay the consequences. And this is the warning signal that goes under UAPA. This kind of act can only be enacted in North Korea or China, not in a country which calls itself the largest democratic country in the world.
Students, journalists, lawyers, at least 4,000 people have been arrested in the name of this anti-terrorist law over the past 4 years. Anti-caste activist and Professor Hani Babu is one of them. His wife and daughter have not seen him since his arrest in July.
See, now he's waving to us. Again he's waving. After this we saw him one more time when he was sent to jail.
I thought we'll get to meet more or, maybe bail or something. But yeah, it was sad, we couldn't even talk, we couldn't even meet each other. It was just like for 5 seconds we could say hi and bye.
They kept him there and they kept telling him that there are these folders we found in your computer which incriminates you. Now it looks like even doing anything within the university and trying to bring social justice within the university is also a criminal act. If an arrest, such a wrong and unjust arrest happens, there would have been huge protests. But by catching these people during COVID, they have actually avoided this. They have got away with it. Oh.
Jenny Rowena has had to spend a lot of money defending her husband in court. The hearings are constantly postponed because of the pandemic.
Keeping them in prison is a punishment because eventually they know that if it comes to trial, there's no evidence against most of these people and they are not going to be convicted. So they make them suffer, keep them away from their families, they make the families also suffer.
We reached out to the Delhi police for comments, but they didn't respond to our requests for an interview. With protests being curtailed during the pandemic, many have demanded a repeal of this anti-terrorism law deemed to be abusive and anti-democratic. Writer Arundhati Roy is a vocal critic.
If there is one thing that this panel must demand, it is the revocation of that law. Because that is not a law. That is just a loose collection of words which allows the state to charge anyone with anything and imprison them for months and years together.
Even if those currently imprisoned under this draconian law are never convicted of any wrongdoing, they are unlikely to ever receive reparations.